Chapter 27. The meeting is set for Sal's Famous, Healy's favorite pizza place. Even in his absence, the group leader's influence hangs over them. "Hope your girl likes pepperoni," Terrence mumbles, tying into his second slice. "I have no idea what food she likes or doesn't like," Gecko says honestly. "I never took her out to eat. How could I? We had next to no cash and no idea how long we had to make it last." RJ wraps his mouth around a king-size bite. "Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore. One way or another, we know exactly how long our money has to last. Till Wednesday. After that, we'll either have Healy paying our bills again, or we'll be accepting the hospitality of the Department of Corrections." Terrence glances nervously at the clock on the wall. "Where's your chick, Gecko? Think she might stiff us?" "She has to make sure she's not followed," Gecko explains. "If her old man's crazy enough to send the deputy chief of police to scare me away, who's to say he wouldn't keep an eye on her, too?" As he speaks, Roxanne appears in the fly-specked glass of the front door and enters the pizzeria. He can actually feel himself flush. He's embarrassed by how happy he is to see her. The rush even wipes out for a moment the all-pervading dread of what they have to do and the fate that awaits them if they can't make it work. "Man, she looks good," comments Terrence in a low voice. "Still can't figure out what she's doing with you." RJ is sober. "Let's just concentrate on what she has to say." Roxanne slides into the booth beside Gecko. "Sorry I'm late, you guys. The whole hospital was in lockdown because they couldn't find one of the patients on the 8th floor. Gecko is instantly alert. "He escaped?" "No. He tried to put all his clothes on at the same time and wedged himself in the closet. But they weren't letting anybody in or out until they found him." Her face darkens. "They're very serious about security up there. It would have been a lot easier to get your friend Healy out of Yorkville." "No point in moaning about that now," RJ puts in. "How much of the hospital have you had the chance to see?" "Most of it, I think. Wow, pepperoni, my favorite." She picks up a slice. "The orientation is a huge deal. They run the hospital like a jail, and keeping the patients inside is job one. That's the first thing the head nurse told me." Terrence is not a believer. "These places, they talk big security, but it's hot air. You can get into anywhere. Something, a skylight, a window." She shakes her head. "The windows are barred, and there are no skylights. I thought about the roof, but the access is locked and chained. Besides, you'd have to be Spider-Man to get in that way. We're the tallest building for 3 blocks. "What about fire exits?" RJ suggests. "They're all outside main security," she tells him. "And there's no way to pull a fire alarm and disappear in the confusion. Each patient is assigned to a fire marshal, and there's a disaster plan they practice every month, not to mention the police station around the corner. During lockdown today, the cops were there in like 30 seconds. It's a lost cause, guys. Maybe you should just confess." Terrence is scornful. "Confess nothing. A building like that doesn't run by itself. They need deliveries, food, toilet paper, those gowns that don't cover your butt, whatever. Where do they take out the garbage? Not through the metal detector at the front door, that's for sure." She looks thoughtful. "There's a lane in the back of the building leading up to the loading docks. All deliveries come in there, and that's where they put out the garbage. But there's a guard post blocking the alley. Everybody going in or out has to be authorized by the desk." Terrence is concentrating hard. 24 hours a day?" "I don't think so," she replies. "Last night when I left, the guard hut was empty, but the gate was padlocked shut." A big grin splits Terrence's face. "The lock doesn't exist that can keep me out." RJ speaks up. "Maybe Rox could go to the loading dock and let us inside." She shakes her head. "That's all closed up at night. Terrence can pick a lock, but I can't." Their faces fall. Just when it seems like they've found a way in, there's another dead end. Then, Roxanne says, "Unless..." Their eyes are on her again, wide and pleading. "There's a small door off the kitchen, leading to the dumpsters. It's locked to the outside, but someone on the inside could open it for you." Never before have Gecko and RJ seen Terrence so businesslike. For the next 20 minutes, he questions Roxanne on the minutest details of the alley, the kitchen, the layout of that part of the hospital, and the people who work there. If the kid would devote this kind of energy and drive to schoolwork, he'd be a presidential scholar. As the plan crystallizes, Gecko's heart begins to pound. Calm down, he cautions himself. The odds against us are 1,000,000 to 1. Pull the breakout, bring back Healy's memory, convince him to cover for them with Ms. Vaughn. A long shot? Try no shot. And yet, when the whole scheme is broken down into single steps, not one of them is impossible. Gecko asks the practical question. When? Tomorrow, Terrence replies matter-of-factly. How many days you think we've got? That's perfect, Roxanne puts in. I work till 8, and I can tell my parents I'm sleeping at a friend's house. Then, when I do get home, I'll just say there was a change of plan. Gecko feels a pang of remorse. No wonder your dad doesn't want you to have anything to do with me. Look at what I've got you mixed up in. She slips her hand into his and shrugs, smiling. Get a grip. How he's missed those 3 words. Terrence puts his 2 cents in. You want RJ and me to scram so you guys can make all these people lose their appetites? Gecko and Roxanne move apart self-consciously. Anyway, RJ concludes, tonight's not the time for celebrating. Tomorrow night. Maybe. Nobody speaks it, but the word hangs there as clearly as if it's been broadcast in the pizzeria. They say goodbye to Roxanne and trudge back down 3rd Avenue toward 97th Street. They make a very quiet procession, each one anticipating a sleepless night and a tortured day. Gecko suffers doubly, knowing that he has just passed up what might well be his last chance to kiss Roxanne. Tomorrow night, in the heat of the breakout, there will be no time for that. And afterward, it's more than likely he'll never see her again. What's up, yo? RJ already has his key in the lock when the shadowy figures appear behind them. 4 hang back. When the 5th steps forward, the razor-cut $ gleams in the lamplight. RJ moves away from the door and regards DeAndre. Something I can do for you, pal? DeAndre looks the massive RJ up and down. This is between me and the yo here. I'm not doing it, Terrence says firmly. It doesn't make me feel like a gangster to dump an old lady into a frozen puddle. Guess I haven't got what it takes to be with your crew. DeAndre shakes his head. That's not how it works. You're on the hook for this. No backing out. Terrence sighs. No disrespect. I don't have time for this, man. The snake eyes narrow. I didn't ask for it. You did. Terrence tries to be reasonable. Things change, DeAndre. Not this thing. I'm not your hobby. What you start with me, you finish. Or there's payback. His 4 crew members step into the light. RJ and Gecko move forward to flank Terrence. With all that they have on their plate, a brawl is the last thing they need. But they can't leave Terrence to face them alone. Out of the darkness above, a cascade of water splatters on the sidewalk, drenching DeAndre and his crew. Shocked, the razor-cut teen stares at Terrence, searching for the weapon his adversary used to call down a deluge from the heavens. When he finally looks up, he spies Mrs. Leibowitz, leaning out her window, an empty saucepan in one hand, her cell phone in the other. I've dialed 911, and I'm about to push the send button. You get out of here and leave my boys alone. DeAndre glares at Terrence. 24 hours, yo. Get it done, or you get done. He and his crew storm off down the street, shoes squishing on the pavement. RJ looks up to thank Mrs. Leibowitz, but the window is already shut. They'll be back, Terrence predicts bleakly. Count on it. RJ takes a deep breath. We've got bigger problems than those guys. Maybe so, says Gecko with a shiver. But now, they know where we live.